And we should be live. How you guys doing today? Hope everyone's doing well. It's been a long day. Got some good information I'd like to share with you guys today. I know it's been a little bit. Glad to be here tonight. I'm gonna wait for a few people to get on, but we're gonna be talking about a few things today. You can see in the in our title, I'm gonna be talking about AC service, ATS maintenance, and just an update on the trucking industry. So guys, let me know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, I will be answering questions during the show. You can actually use super chat to highlight your questions. I'll do my best to get to everybody's questions. How's the audio sound, guys? If you give me some feedback on the audio. And I am drinking some coffee to get through this. I'm going to shoot for an hour. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Let me know where you guys are watching from. I had a question earlier that came in on the channel, so that's one of the things that I wanted to discuss is the question here that he asked me. I'm going to get to chat here in a second, but one of the questions that was asked was, okay, so he must have seen some of our AC information that I have out there. Proper airflow, clean filter, but keeps freezing up. Why? So he's basically explaining that he's having some AC lines freezing up. So that's what I'm going to be opening the show on AC service and proper AC service and what not to do out there, especially when now it's getting hot. It is pretty challenging to drive these trucks without AC. So guys that are doing that, please consider getting your guys AC going because it's just more comfortable. These trucks do make a lot of heat, but I'm glad you guys are joining us. Big Josh says, "Is that that I'm good on the audio?" I appreciate that. I was having some audio issues earlier, but I got everything going now, so hopefully you guys can hear me well. So we're gonna keep moving on. So he's got proper airflow. When he's talking about proper airflow, he's talking about air flowing through the evaporator. Guys, if you're not familiar on how AC works, it's just kind of like a spray can. I know you guys seen the video. It's just converting a liquid to a gas, and it does that in the evaporator that's in the dash. Now, you always got to change out that air filter, and I know if you've just recently changed it out, you're like, okay, I just recently changed it out, we should be all right. And but the thing is, if you wait too long, a lot of dirt already has bypassed that filter. So what happens is when that evaporator just gets with so much condensation, it gets moist, it gets wet. When dirt gets actually applied to it, of course, dirt and water, it just sticks to it. So unfortunately, if you're still having freezed up lines, that's probably going to be that evaporator that needs to be pulled. And this is why I wanted to discuss exactly what's going on with AC systems. I've been servicing AC systems on semi trucks for a very long time. So I've seen a lot of bad practices where, for example, somebody comes in with a compressor that just replaced because the AC was out, and maybe they weren't using it all during the summer or during the fall where it wasn't cold, but now that it's hot, they want to go ahead and get it fixed. Any AC system that's been out of service for a while, anything more than a month, condensation is going to get inside that system. So if you just throw another compressor on there, there's a high probability of that compressor failing. So it's best to get it serviced by someone that has basically what you're going to have to do if you have something that's already been open for a very long time is service the whole system. And the AC lines and all this are, guys, they're aluminum, so you have the right tools and everything. It can be a pain in the butt, especially you have evaporator and a sleeper. Some of the trucks are set up to become a little bit easier, but at the same time it's still a lot of work. So this was a good question that came in from the channel. So I'm going to do my best to get to all these questions that I do have on here. But what I would say, if you did change the air filter and your AC was cooling and now your lines are freezing, that's just the cold air not passing through the evaporator, so it's just freezing up, and it could be that it's clogged up. And I know you said the filter's been replaced, but that's something that's more than likely going to need to be pulled. So moving on, I'm going to be talking about ATS maintenance as well, which is your after treatment. I know a lot of people are kind of against this after treatment system, but after treatment, or emissions control, I should say, emissions control is not going to go anywhere. So learning more about how to maintain these systems is very important. So the main thing that I see when it comes to servicing ATS system is not keeping up with duty cycles. And we talked about duty cycles before. I made a video about duty cycles, which is basically in all, like, I can kind of break it all down to you, but all in all, it's basically not idling a lot. I mean, but if the truck is already set up with safety measures already in place, so I know we do this a lot. We bypass the idle. Guys, that's not going to be safe. It's not going to, all it's doing is causing more carbon buildup on the after treatment device. Not only on the after treatment device, but it's also going to be building up on the top of your pistons, and over time just create more carbon. And that's with any engine. Any engine is going to do that at idle. But when you have a diesel engine with so much displacement, you're looking at a cylinder this big, it's almost impossible for it to burn all that fuel at that low of idle all the time. So that's why idling is not recommended. That's why PTOs aren't recommended. Anything at low speed is not recommended. You know, I'm got a new video that I just done recently on what type of software that we use to troubleshoot the systems and what kind of software to stay away from. One of the things that I did mention is these scanners that are getting promoted out there, that you can just kind of like AutoZone type scanners where you just hook up and clear the code on whether it's a derate or something with the after treatment system. Guys, I do not suggest that you do this or you practice this, just because these are safety measures that are put in place. The truck has safety measures. If it's not reading something correctly, then it's basically going into a derate mode so that you don't get any issues on the truck. So when you clear it with the scanner, you're clearing it with the scanner, and basically you're telling it that the truck's been fixed, and you keep pushing it, basically just causing you more damage down the long run. What I would suggest you guys would do, is do your best to get you a APU. I know they're probably pretty expensive now. Everything's gone up when it comes to prices, and that's something else I'm going to be talking about. But I mean, if the only way you can avoid idling, especially in this hot sun, if you're riding down here in Texas, I don't know, I've never been to Arizona, but I heard Arizona and California is pretty hot. A lot of guys that are working down on the border right now, I know with produce coming in, produce is pretty much at its peak. So that's something else that I wanted to mention to you guys on what's going on with the trucking industry. I'm pretty sure if you guys are not moving produce, but either way, even if you're not moving produce is using a lot of capacity, and there's still a lot of manufacturing that's coming up. And one thing that I was going to mention about that is, and I kind of didn't want to jump too far ahead, is the nearshoring is basically what it's called. Nearshoring is something that basically is like, instead of outsourcing or outshoring all our manufacturing like we were doing on the east side, but all this conflict that's happened in the east, of course, everyone is just kind of doing their strategy, and they're moving to nearshoring is basically what it's called. And what this is just bringing manufacturing closer to the United States so they're not having to ship it from overseas. And where that is going to be in Mexico, and that's where that's been happening for the past. It's been happening, but you don't see an actual full-on freight transformation or whatnot until you're actually 18 months is what they say. A lot of these projects is what's happening, which is maintenance program. Which is distribution centers and warehouses, which are talking about 18 months. So that's something that I just kind of wanted to mention. If you guys are at the border, I know I jumped over to the freight as well, but I know you guys are out there either moving produce or wherever you're moving. I know it's hot, so I wanted to go over that and where the actual freight was coming from. I appreciate everybody that's joining us. I see Houston's on. This is a kind of funny hour that I jumped on now. I wanted to go on at 7, but I couldn't get my mic up. So if you guys probably replay this tomorrow or whatnot, I'm still going to be giving you as much information. I saw some clips of the hub automation that's happening in California, and I thought that was pretty interesting. A lot of people were kind of against that, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I remember in some of my last lives we talked about, hey, is AI going to be taken completely over? And AI has been in, of course, headliners all over the place. You know, AI is going to be here for a long run. And if you see the automated hubs at in California, they seem pretty efficient, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. They seem pretty efficient. I'm not saying that they're going to be, this is not going to replace truck drivers. The United States has an issue with not being able to get freight inland fast enough. Our ports were too small. Our ports capacity cannot handle what's coming in. So that's always been an issue. And when I saw the automation happening, and the only thing that was manually being done is the container being taken off the ship and onto this section where a person takes the locks at the bottom corners off so that they can move it over to an automated chassis. But what I did see is how efficient that was moving. There were no arguments. Nobody was fighting. Nobody was on their phone. Nobody was, hey, get out of my way. Now, this is not going to take away from all the port drivers. All this is going to do is end up moving freight inland. So that means you're going to not have to be moving to the port as much, and not every state is going to adopt this. Of course, Texas, California is the only state that actually adopted this. And what's really interesting as well is that they also have a ban, and this is really weird. They also have a ban on automated trucks being used on highways. So that's pretty interesting. They ban automated trucks on highway, but of course in the ports they wanted all automation there. So that's pretty interesting. So I covered that. Everything's coming pretty quick. I see some other things. If you guys got any questions about anything, we work on all systems. I know I cover a lot of the DD15s, but we cover everything when it comes to, we've been working on diesel Class 8 engines before Aftertreatment systems were in place. So before Aftertreatment systems, before the DD15, we had nothing but 60 series Caterpillars. I still recall we still have Caterpillars coming in, and this was before Aftertreatment systems. Once Aftertreatment systems came in place, it was more the DD15 coming in, and we see a lot more platforms trying to be more efficient. Everything's trying to control emissions. PACCAR is a little bit of a complicated setup, but we do service PACCAR. I seen International come out with another engine that was pretty interesting. But we'll see what happens with that. Basically, guys, if you're looking to keep up with a truck that you have going now, maintenance programs are probably going to be the best. I can go over a few maintenance things that needs to be done, especially on your after-treatment system. We've already covered idling. If you do your best not to idle, idling is definitely just going to cause more carbon buildup. And the DD15 has always been this type of engine. It's always been a high combustion engine, has a high compression. So this compression is what causes the torque. I don't know if you guys feel the difference, but there's kind of less lag. You're not having 1,000 horsepower for someone that's going all out. And as I mentioned earlier, emissions aren't going anywhere. Excuse me. Emissions control has been an issue for a really long time, and I know that just recently the EPA is starting to become a little bit more stringent on everything. But honestly, man, if you ask a majority of people, there's not a lot of people that are wanting a smoggy environment. Sometimes in these high cities and these cities with a lot of traffic, a lot of trucks, you're gonna see a lot of these. The smog. It's just a lot of smog everywhere. So it's not going anywhere. Maintenance is going to be the best bet. I know that maintenance is everything's gone up. I've read an article that maintenance is kind of leveling off when it comes to expenses for fleets. The best thing that I could say is budget for this. Put a percentage of what the truck is making. I've read some different things about how the market is. I know we've went through a lot of downturn in these past few months, which has been very difficult. but I noticed that there is already a horizon. I see it. I've read it. I see that there's more consistency when I talk about what's happening with the cross-border freight that's coming from Mexico, what's happening with the nearshoring that's happening on our coast, on our border. It's gonna be a steady, but it's not gonna be the same as post-pandemic, after everything was shut down and then everybody started stocking up and reordering. And the retailers are doing the exact opposite right now. Retailers are actually already reporting to postpone most of their restocks and everything until the end of the year. So prepare for that. Prepare for maybe another slowdown. I was talking to a buddy of mine, a real close associate of mine, earlier this week, and we were discussing. He actually brought it to my attention that there's always this. I didn't really pay attention too much to politics because it's energy draining, but I was wanting. We were discussing. He brought up the budget about the debt ceiling that was about to cry. There's all, and it happens every year. And if you're not from the United States, basically it's a budget that our government always has a dispute over, and they threaten that they're going to shut down because they're running out of money. And it's kind of, it happens every year, and it's kind of odd to me. It's like, well, if it keeps happening every year, shouldn't you figure out a different approach? So anyway, in that agreement, this most recent agreement, what he mentioned to me is that the student loans, which have been delayed for, I'm not sure for how long, these student loans are actually going back active. So that was pretty interesting. And we don't talk about these different things to kind of scare people, but we just talk about what it is to actually understand, because that's going to be less money for extra money that people are going to have, because especially the ones that are holding these student loan debts, because of the payments that have been relieved for this long of time are supposed to be coming back here at the end of the year. So that's going to be pretty interesting. The way I see it, and I'm not a economic specialist, but I'll read a little bit. But the way I see it, it's going to already slow down what it's already done already, with the interest rates being rose, the spending slowed down, which caused inflation to go down because of people not excessively spending as much, because that's what happens when more money is available. People excessively spend, things go up. And that's basically what happened. So now with the rates going up, they kind of put a strong hold on the spending, or a cautious spend on the spending. And what this is going to do is tie up more money from being in the economy. And then when the student loans go into effect, that's going to cause more money to be tied up. So what later they're going to end up doing is going down on the rates again to kind of push money back out. At that point, everything's going to there's probably not going to be a lot available, and it's really interesting because I see it a little bit already. Trucking is always kind of ahead of the economy, and it's pretty odd because a few months ago, my shop, if you need service and you're coming through Texas, we're located at 4140 Langdon Road. You can call us during business hours at 972-225-3017. Look, I'll make sure to leave our information in the description box. But we've been servicing the DFW area for quite a while now. And what I was going to mention is Freightliner, or the dealers, are pretty close to us. And it's pretty interesting that what I was going to mention is just that first, whenever we passed, a few months ago, when I was mentioning I was going to bring up capacity. A few months ago, the lot was full. Because they sell used trucks, so the lots were full, which was very interesting. But now it's like ghost town. Everyone's buying the trucks, which really, it's interesting, and it's good buys, because you got to think about it. If California's pushing all these trucks that a lot of states are still accepting, even if after-treatment systems are in place and they're still working with after-treatment systems, this could create a good buy. Now we're at stable rates. One thing that I want to mention, Tampa, I see your super chat. I appreciate that super chat, and I'm gonna get to you in just a second. I just wanted to kind of wrap up what I was gonna talk about here. So when we talk about freight and how it's balancing out, one indication that I see and that's interesting to me, is that you see UPS drivers and Teamsters, which is unions, that are coming together and I don't mean like to. I'm not mocking anything. I understand, but unions are coming together in different areas that weren't seen, like UPS asking for AC in trucks, which is, I understand, a truck AC in a vehicle is, you got to understand that engine and transmission is creating a lot of heat. The whole truck is made of metal. It's nothing that's, if you don't have any insulation, that heat's just coming into that truck very strong. So, and the engine's creating heat. There's other heat coming from cars. There's exhaust. Yeah, I can understand that. But what I'm getting at is that means that there's a lot of work out there. So if you were discouraged about becoming a driver or a diesel technician, there are always going to be open spaces. No matter how much AI is going to probably take over some of the ports, there's still a lot of things that are going to need to be built with diesels, and they're still going to keep going. And so, guys, that was something that I'd like to that I wanted to wrap up. Tampa's got a question here. Thanks for the super chat, guys. If you have a question and you want to shoot it on a super chat, I was gonna shoot for an hour. I have a few more line items to talk about, but if I can't make it the full hour, guys, I apologize. I've had a long day. I started at 6, so just like all you guys. How much is a total overhaul for a DD15 versus a Volvo? Now, that's a good question. We get questions. I know you guys have seen the clips, the photos that I've put up of full overhauls. And some people are like, hey, what are the prices? What are the prices? There's a reason why we don't give prices, is because you have serial numbers, you have model numbers, you have different gens that happen, upgrades that happen on the engine that's not going to be the same from either older model or newer model. There's just so many variations. So there's so many parts that we have to quote to get together. So it's tough to give you guys an exact estimate what can be reused, what can't be reused. Those are items that all need to be checked out. But if you are in the market for overhauling your engine, definitely contact us. Give us some information. If you want to bring it by, let's see if it's even up for an overhaul. That's something that I wanted to talk about today. Is going to be lubrication. I wanted to talk about bearing failures. I was having some bearing issues and showing up in the shop, and what we were noticing, it was just not on real super high mileage engines, but fairly high, maybe 9, close to 800,000 before $1 million. But if you have something that's rated for 1 million miles, you wouldn't expect too much wear. So one thing that I was looking at is a lot of guys are not running, and I can understand it could be a little bit more like extra steps, but is getting oil samples done. Get these oil samples done, and some of this information that we refer to, which is PSL, whether it's a Caterpillar, whether it's any engine, Volvo, we go to their online manual database, and this is where they're going to give us information. But one thing that I see across all platforms is they request you do extended oil intervals, and I'm not like 100%. I'm not 100% for it, and I'm not 100% against it. So. But what I am for is getting that oil sample done, because if you're going, I did a video. I would say 15, no more than 20,000 miles. I know you guys want to go longer than that, and if you are, it's fine as long as you're running an oil analysis. And an oil analysis is basically like a blood test for your oil. And with so many moving components, especially the turbos, everything, and you want that engine running for a really long time, it's worth having some kind of oil analysis program in place. So I really do suggest that, because there are some engines come in that probably could have been saved if an oil. I would say 100% would have saved them some money if there wasn't if they were running a oil analysis. Because I was thinking about it, you have overhead. A lot of these trucks are going overhead cams. So yeah, you have check valves that keep oil pressure normally up there, but these are large cams. So you're having big, large cams, and over time it does wear out. So if you got oil that's dirty, or you got some oil that you've been running for a really long time, it could be susceptible for more wear over time. So keep that in mind, guys. Happy late Father's Day to everybody. And I didn't really celebrate Father's Day too much, just because I don't feel like every day is pretty much Father's Day. There's not a day that we don't have to be a father. So that's kind of how I was thinking about, it's just like every day is a Father's Day. And it's funny because I saw that Halloween is actually ranked higher than Father's Day as a holiday. That's pretty interesting. That was pretty interesting to me. Honestly, I'm not surprised. I wasn't surprised. But so back to a couple more things that I have here. We talked about nearshoring. We talked about the maintenance program. Guys, we didn't talk about tires yet, but I wanted to get back on maintenance programs because tires is very expensive. And I know that people want to save money with tires because you don't want to buy a set at a time. What I did when we had trucks, and I don't know if you guys know, but we had a lot of trucks. Well, I would say 4 trucks, 5 trucks. That's not a lot. But we had trucks, and the only reason why I moved from them, sometimes I do wish that I didn't move from them, because I did enjoy the having the being able to have trucks on the road. Our trucks were safe, everything was good, and just being able to provide work for other individuals and being a team just felt good. But it took a lot of energy, guys. If you're dealing with a spot market and you're dealing with brokers, you're dealing with deliveries. If you're only doing it for yourself, or you guys are doing it for a few trucks, you can see how overwhelming that is. And that's kind of why I stopped, kind of move from trucks. One day maybe we can get back into it. But what I was going to mention is when I did change tires, I would do 4 across. So instead of, you can't just do 2 at a time when I'm talking about the drive tires. Now, if you can't do brand new tires, try to do brand new good name brand. If you can't, try to do some good Chinese. Do your research. Don't just do any Chinese. Get them balanced. On the rear, don't do Chinese. I'm nothing against Chinese. I'm not racist, but that's just what norm is in trucking, is not putting Chinese tires on the front, which is funny because I think Yokohama and them are, which is a good tire. Yokohama or some of the, maybe even Bridgestone is probably made in Asia as well. So, but no Chinese tires on the front, no recaps on the front. If you're gonna get recaps, this is the time to keep an eye on those recaps, because that pavement is super hot. I seen a video. You guys are from a hot area, just be fortunate that you're not from a hot area, because Texas gets very hot, especially in Dallas. We're not too close to the shores or to the ocean, so I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash. But definitely hot up here. Let me get to some of these comments, see if you guys got any other questions for me. Hey Adam, my AC clutch stopped working, and now my engine fan doesn't turn on automatically, except manually by the button. Does the AC clutch compressor control the engine fan to turn on by itself? It does. Okay, so basically it's not tripping your high pressure switch, because your AC system has a condenser that's in front. It's like a radiator, skinny radiator that's in front of the radiator. So what it does is, whenever the AC is changing pressure, you have a high side and a low side. So when that freon switches from that high to that low, or that low to that high, either way, I think it's the high to the low, suction coming up is high. So from low to high, it gets hot. And I'm probably quoting this wrong, but what we're talking about is your fan, it basically turns on because your AC's high side is creating enough pressure that it needs your fan to turn on to cool off that condenser. So if you notice that your AC is not working now, or your fan's not cutting on, Your fan only is going to come on automatically is if only if the engine calls it to come on. So that means it has to get hotter. So that's why your on-off switch is still working. If it's a manual switch, is that something that is made on there? Because I wouldn't suggest putting a manual aftermarket manual switch for a fan, just because if you have somebody do some funky wiring that don't do it correctly and it doesn't last long, you could lose connectivity to the fan and end up getting the engine hot, and you don't want to get any engine hot and damage a head. All these heads are high, and I'm thinking about Caterpillars, and one thing is Caterpillars is really high. Sorry about that. So from, like I mentioned, from low to high, when that happens, your pressures on PSI is getting up there. It's getting up to 300 PSI. So what your fan does, it kicks it on, and it cools it off, and it brings that pressure down, and it just cycles on and off. If you have that not coming on anymore, what I would do is, of course, check fuses first. See if you're getting power to your compressor. Make sure all your sensor connectors are good, which is the connectors on your AC lines, connector to your compressor, connector to your dryer. Check your AC lines, like follow it with the flashlight. See if you're going to see some Freon is going to come. Freon, natural Freon is just kind of like gas. It doesn't have a color to it, but some people will add dye into your system so you'll be able to see it. But if you don't have dye, then basically look for like oil residue, and so that means you would have a leak, and that means your AC is not coming on, so there's no need for that fan to kick on for you. Hopefully that helped. Sometimes you even have a high pressure switch go bad, so check your high pressure switch to see if you are having power going to that high pressure switch. If your AC compressor is kicking on, but then it kicks off because the fan's not kicking on, then that could be a high pressure switch issue as well. If it sounds like too much for you, I would just definitely take it to somebody that knows how to work on AC systems, because it is an electric system as well that runs off sensors as well. So I would hate for you to change out any components like a AC compressor when it could be like a sensor or a wiring issue or something like that. So hopefully that helps. Steering wheel holder, huh? Yeah, that's man, that's a good one, man. That's a good question there. So yeah, man, we talked about union striking, meaning that's a lot of, to me that sounds like that's a lot of work out there. You guys let me know how if you guys are moving spot market, how the freight is looking. I know it's not great. The greatest as it was, and when I compare it to the pandemic, but I know you guys, some of the guys are actually moving pretty strong when it comes to what's coming out of the produce, when you're moving the produce and all the manufacturing that's coming on. So I feel like rates are going to start picking more back up, especially since I mentioned how capacity is being used up. You don't see a lot of trucks, a lot of used trucks be on sale for right now, so maybe everyone's just staying quiet as they stack all their money. What would be a good lab to send the oil? You know what, I need to get a sponsor for the channel, so I'll do some research for you guys on what's a good lab. I'll see here. I'll research a lab for you, and I'll reach out to them to see if they'll sponsor the channel, to get maybe that we can get a discount from them. I don't know. You know, they probably give us a small discount, but either way, even if there isn't no discount, what I would do is just look online and read reviews, do a little bit of research. Nothing's wrong. I try to read more than 30 minutes a day, but that's what I would do. But old motorists, I'll try to get that. Jacob, I'll try to get some information to you. A friend of mine was told to change his oil pump and bearings. Weeks later, his engine's totally down. What could be the mistake there? Man, whenever you're replacing oil pumps and main bearings, you're messing with, that's some very specific stuff there. So there's a lot of things that could have went wrong. I'm not sure, I don't know the procedures that they took to do that. It could have been wrong torquing. It could have, when you say totally down, did it lock up? What was the actual failure? That would probably give me a better indication of what happened. If it was a rod out of the block, or a seized bearing. If it's a seized bearing, like the engine seized up or locked up after an oil pump and bearing replacement, more than likely they probably didn't prime it. You have to prime it because, as I mentioned earlier, whenever you got the startup, the oil is coming from the bottom here. There are check valves so that the oil can make it up here to these overhead cams, and this is on any engine because everyone's going overhead cam. Volvo's overhead cam, ISX is overhead cam. PACCAR is not overhead cam. They're using push rods, but push rods is very, very tough because now you got the cam in the middle of the engine, and the PACCAR has to be removed. The complete engine has to be removed just to get a cam out. Kind of like the M14 Cummins. It was the same thing. It was a pain in the butt. The rollers were down by the bottom, and it was just oil leaks. Very pain in the butt. But yeah, so it looks like he said it was knocking and then it seized. It was knocking and then it seized. It just depends, probably have to open it up. If it was knocking, could have been something come loose, and then then it seized up. That sucks. To me, knocking wouldn't be a seized bearing, or not lubricating it. It could have been assembly. That sounds like assembly error. Something up top. Either something up top or something was not tightened too much. What engine was that? That some of these engines have the bolts made onto the push rod, and we try. I always recommend replacing those bolts. Because of failures. Because of failures of those, what happens is those bolts stretch over time. Even with head bolts, when we replace heads, we measure the head bolts, but most practice is replacing the head bolts, because that's a lot of compression, man. You're talking about, man, I want to say, I don't want to underquote it because I'm probably going to get, I'm learning to be more specific, and even with my pronunciation, because you guys don't let me slide. But I'm from Texas. We were born and raised here in Dallas. Concrete Cowboys. So the compression I wanted to bring up, very high compression, man. Okay, so I would say, here 2,600 psi. So that's a lot of compression. That's a lot of compression. So yeah, most head bolts need to be replaced, especially if these engines are running 1,000,000 miles. DD15 is what he said. Jacob said that's what type of engine it is. Well, yep, that could be a. To me, it sounds like an assembly issue because of the knocking. If it was a oil starvation, usually the engine just kind of bogs down like, and then just stops, just because it can't spin anymore. The bearing, the crank is just so tight that bearing spins and it burns and just kind of welds itself, and it just can't rotate anymore. So that's what happens whenever you get this oil starvation. Kenneth Lockwood, thanks for joining us. Let me know where you're watching from. Hope I ain't keeping you guys up too late. I might start trying to get a little bit earlier. It's already 9 o'clock. I'm just trying to go for an hour and then have to shower and get up early in the morning again and do it again. Jackknife TV said that sounds like a DD15 problem right there. Recommend changing the oil pump and bearings. Well, I mean, it happens. I remember doing it on the 60 series. Kenneth Lockwood asks, a Series 60, is Series 60 better than the DD13? I'm not too big of a fan of the DD13. If you're going to get a DD platform, you might as well go with a DD15, the whole 14, 15 liter. You're going to be happy you did because of the power. A DD13 is going to get work done, and it can get work done, but you're just kind of overworking it because of the, you know, if you're pulling heavy containers or you're pulling, you know, at its peak, it could wear it out over time. So I would definitely go if you had an option. If you have a DD13 already, man, go. I mean, keep the maintenance up on it. Don't change. You know, don't let it go to crap. Just keep pushing that. Keep making money with it. Keep making money with it. I mean, a truck is gonna make money, and I mean, right now I don't see a lot of used trucks in the parking lot. I don't see a lot of used trucks. So if the DD13 is what you're using, then I would just keep moving. And I'm still a big fan of the 60 series, and I'm probably, a lot of people are going to say, no, I'm wrong. But we do see like the quality of the parts aren't the same as they used to, as the quality of the parts of the newer engines. The technology is a little bit older, especially when it comes to the fuel system. Everybody's going high pressure. The high pressure is even on the smaller diesel engines, which is just creating better power. And not just dumping all this fuel kind of like the older engines. But 60s are still good. I'm not against any engine. If I had a 60, any engine that's can make you money is a good engine. So guys, I appreciate everybody joining us. If I didn't get to one of your questions, Ramos says, hola de Tampa, Florida. Oh, okay. Thank you for joining us. Gracias para vernos. Hey Adam, a clutch. I got that one down. Guys, if you got any questions before I wrap this up, what does he say here? Okay, I missed this question here, or this comment. He says, have you heard anything about West Coast states adopting a DEF only truck only like Cali? I wouldn't be surprised, man. I feel like the coast are probably, whenever you research where like smog is the most, and it's going to be in concentrated areas, of course, where there's a lot of trucks, and most of it's going to be at ports. So, yeah, I do feel like ports are going to be the first conversion. It might not be that fast, but I think ports are going to convert. But what I mentioned earlier is that's going to help us bring freight more inland. So you guys are still going to be able to move from yards and stuff like that. I mean, California is not letting the auto trucks run on the highways, which is definitely a good thing. If California is already ahead of where the EV is going in the trucking side, at least they're already against EVs being on the road. And not only that, I even saw that is some information, or that is one of the requirements for the negotiation when it comes to these strikes that are happening with these unions, is they don't want automated trucks to be used. That's something that was pretty interesting. I saw that as well. I appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Try to stay more consistent, give you guys more information, try to get more viewers on, even though I know you guys are probably wrapping your nights up or barely getting started. I saw an article the other day. You know, it said that the most dangerous time to drive is from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And guys, God bless you drivers, man. I know you deal with a lot of idiot drivers out there. These cars, I swear, there should be more advertising on getting these people to drive right. It's just ridiculous to see what's out there. It honestly feels like sometimes you're like in Mario Kart. I don't know if you guys ever played Mario Kart, but it feels like real Mario Kart, like people hanging out the car and throwing. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So be safe out there, guys. Make sure to keep your following distance. Don't rush. Of course, when we're rushing, we're having to brake harder. We're wearing our trucks out more. So just keep it cool. Keep that following distance. Even if people are going to get in front of us, keep that following distance in place. I don't know why everybody lost their following distance rule. Everyone did. It's ridiculous, but we'll see what happens. Jacob got another comment here. He says, hey, I'm used to turn my engine fan always when I have passed 200 or before going to the big hill. I heard from Francisco A that there's a very common problem with heating on the seal. Yeah, well, if you didn't want your engine more than 200, if it wasn't turning on, yeah, I can see that throwing on a manual switch, definitely. I just whenever I talked about me owning trucks, I remember putting a manual switch on, and I had a driver forget to turn that manual switch on, because whenever you install a manual switch, sometimes it bypasses the auto switch. So that driver didn't turn that switch on, and that's why right away I said you don't want to mess up a Caterpillar head, because that was super expensive for it was a C15 twin turbo, pretty solid truck, but the head cracked like it cracked like an egg. Once you get them hot, it didn't make no sense. But yeah, definitely. If you're you're the one driving. That's the only reason why I didn't recommend too much of those switches, because I hate to take the automated system out of it and you overlook it, and you can still drive the truck. You just got water coming out of your water bottle. Now you got oil mixture and have to get it done. New York, and New Jersey are the most likely going to be the first ones to adapt the California emissions rule. Yep, mostly to do with politics. You're right, politics. I shouldn't say that, but it seems to me that the politics kind of put that as priority, is getting those ports in order. And I saw the port videos. I don't know if you guys saw the port videos. I do have a TikTok. I don't know if you guys saw us on TikTok. I'm just basically repurposing what I've already shot in the past. We do have some new videos coming up, and I've been having some new content that's getting produced, and so we got some new stuff coming out. But the TikTok, we just kind of repurposed everything. But TikTok got some information. That's where I saw the ports. You don't see that. You don't see a lot of things that that basically mainstream doesn't show you. But you're right, it could be any other ports that are blue, maybe blue steak probably would go first. You're right. Let me see. Jacob says good night. Yeah, I'm about to wrap it up too, man. I need to take a shower and go to bed. I'm already past my bedtime. There's an actual giant lawsuit right now, I think, involving 20 states that are suing California CARB and the EPA for effectively banning diesel engines. Well, the good thing is we still got all the other states we can use diesel in. I still believe in emissions control. I know you guys probably think I have a biased opinion about emissions, but I live in a congested area, and whenever you see a lot of traffic going on, the smog is visible. It's not like a hoax. It's not like something that somebody's trying to pull over our eyes, or a narrative. You can see the smog. You can just see it. And I'm not saying where the cost should come. Honestly, they should have agreed in the budget. If you're keeping up with your systems, drivers should get an allowance, some kind of maintenance allowance to keep up with these systems, which they haven't. So I don't mean that's something. So it's in your own hands. It's in your own hands, basically. So what I would say is just follow maintenance procedures, follow maintenance guides. Don't idle. Try your best to get you an APU, get you a truck with an APU, budget for maintenance, schedule your maintenance. I have maintenance information out there. You can check your online manuals, or you can check your owner's manuals. But be sure to not go to extended oil changes unless you're running a oil analysis. And that is something that's in the literature as well. If you look that up on your online manual, that's not something that I made up. That's something that I've read as well. So I would definitely take a look at that. Mine goes up to automatically 218. That's normal. 218 is normal. That's not too hot, but yeah, I get it. Anything over 200 it doesn't feel comfortable. I get it, Jacob. Especially when it's freaking hot outside. Yeah, definitely. I don't like being over 200 either on any vehicle that I'm in, but some vehicles run a little bit hotter, and newer engines, especially they're designed to run a little bit warmer, so that they can burn off. When I talked about carbon and I talked about unburnt fuel, that what they did is they designed these engines to run at a little bit of higher temperatures, so that we're not too low of temperature inside that combustion chamber, so that they can get complete at atomization. I'll probably pronounce that incorrect. Atomization, which is basically burning all the fuel completely. And that's why they are able to raise the heat up more on these Detroits. And it's Detroit was bought. Everyone knows Detroit gave up. They didn't want to deal with emissions. They're probably part of that lawsuit, but with the EPA. But yeah, I saw that. I saw that Mercedes. Of course, we know that Mercedes bought. And Mercedes is not a bad engine. Mercedes is pretty experienced in all the platforms. It seems to me. I think they're number one in a lot of places when it comes to gasoline, and in the Europe as well when it comes to diesel. Adam, I have learned a lot just by listening to your videos. Kenneth, I appreciate that. I don't feel like I have any probably other purpose besides learning more and sharing with you guys. I like to hear that my information was able to make it to you, and hopefully guys save you some money when it comes to, if you maybe have a technician, or if your idea is to just swap your compressor and think that's going to fix it after an AC's been out for a long time. I wouldn't suggest doing that. Or any of the ideas that I've come up with you're not using or I would say recommendations, the recommendations of not clearing these codes out with these scanners on and on and on, just creating issues with your truck later on down the road. Trying to create budgets, that's very important. Maintenance is going to be, if you look at any fleet, so, when you look at models, business models, a fleet is a large business model, and if you're running your own truck, you would just considered a smaller model of that particular setup, and their maintenance is there. That's not something that they're skipping over. And a lot of the maintenance practices that they follow is all going to be what recommended by the OEM, and you have a safer bet that way, and not trying to over idle these trucks. I know that we pass the idle up. I know a lot of people do that. I'm glad I'm glad you guys are still here. I see more comments coming in, and it helps remind me of some things that I wanted to mention earlier. I was thinking about going live early in the morning, a little bit more fresh. Hopefully I can go to sleep tonight. But I've been having a lot of work. Like you said before, hydrogen is key and help clean the emissions. I appreciate you bringing that up, Big Josh. And you're right, man. I don't change my mind about that. I actually saw that Honda, and I don't understand, because I've seen people prove that hydrogen can help emissions control, and not only help emissions control, but it also cleans the after-treatment system as well. So you're having 2 in 1. But the thing is, the people that invented it, they're not like Honda. They're not like they have these big pools. So it's like Honda's coming up with their own hydrogen setup, and most people, when they think of hydrogen, they think, oh my goodness, it's dangerous, we're going to be having a big hydrogen tank. But the hydrogen that they're making it's like, it looks like a big amplifier, and they're adding water to it, and they're using electronics to make the hydrogen, and then it's kind of like a small siphon tube that goes into the intake. So it's a really small amount of hydrogen that's being made by water to create a cleaner combustion. As we talked about earlier, the combustion that's happening in the cylinder, it's already proven that when it's mixed with hydrogen, it burns a lot cleaner. And it's water. I don't know why I don't know. Maybe they need a little bit more tuning on it. I don't know. Let me see. I'm gonna post more often. I'm gonna work on posting more often, man. We've been focusing on running the shop and keeping everybody moving in the shop, and I got 2 videos that are getting released shortly. I'm dubbing the channel for my Mexican viewers, my Latinos. Yo quería hacerlo todo en español, pero es mucho tiempo para hacer nuevos videos and then later on translate them. So I'm gonna be like Mr. Beast and just dub them. I've been on both sides of the spectrum for emissions. Look, if you're gonna buy an older used emissions truck, pretty much expect to throw 75K into emissions repair or forgetting. And I mean, that would be, I don't know. I mean, depends on the truck. If it's an older truck, yeah, you could spend that much money. But if it's a truck that's already, say you get a used truck from a fleet that maybe, I know I say stay away from fleets, but when you have a bunch of trucks, bunch of fleet trucks show up, there are some good ones there. It's the ones that take a long time to sell. The little 2 or 3 ones that are left over are the ones that I'm talking about. But if you buy a truck from a fleet that's already changed out the DPF filter after 500,000 miles and spend some money, then definitely could save you money. Big Josh, I appreciate that super chat. Thanks for the help with my 2007 Volvo D11 engine electrical issue. I took my time and replaced all the battery cables, front end chassis harness, and engine harness. I appreciate, yeah, man. I appreciate that super chat. Yeah, man. Harnesses. I learned about harnesses through Cummins. I took some information on Cummins Virtual College, and there was a lot of information about harnesses, and they talked about how a lot of harnesses are overlooked. These engines are all ran by sensors, and they're basically just sensors coming in on a program that's on the ECM. This ECM is very simple. It's got the parameters of how much fuel I'm going to be dumping out and at this and that. So if you got one signal that's off, it can definitely cause the truck to run erratic. We're coming up to the hour. I'm going to cover a few more things. I appreciate that super chat, Big Josh. Thank you for joining us, and I'm glad I'm able to help you. And keep an eye on those batteries, guys. Even if you're running around, those loose battery cables can cause check engine lights, especially if they're not strapped down. You make sure to keep all that going. Can you type your address in the comments, please? If you're new to my channel, a lot of our stuff is let me see. I've not even said it. Let me see here. Here. All right, I can reply over here. I already got like 8 windows up over here, guys. Let me see. All right. So we're at 4140 Langdon Road. No, you didn't have to take the message back, bro. I was messing with you. Langdon Road, Dallas, Texas, 75241. You can Google us, yeah. You can Google us. Definitely can find us on Google. Yeah, so I appreciate everybody that's joined us. Appreciate everybody that's joined us. I see all the comments. I moved the comments over here so it looks a little bit more. I will post, Bragdon, I will post more often. Give me some ideas, man, what you want to see. Let me know what you want to see. Yeah, man, hit that like button. I appreciate that. I was supposed to say that. Hit the like button, guys, and put a video out for TATs. I'm trying to get you guys good content, man. That's why, even though today was a long day, I had a lot of stuff going on. I shot all weekend. I shot Saturday and Sunday. When I say shot, I mean recorded. Got some new content coming to you guys. So I'm really excited about that. Really excited about getting you more information. I know we've been doing a lot of repurposing, but that's just trying to if you guys haven't seen some of the stuff that we already have out there. And if you got ideas, let me know. We're working on getting a commentary. I don't know what they're called, but they're supposed to help us. They're supposed to help us. They're supposed to help us get these comments back to you guys, because I see tons of comments on the channel, and we definitely would like to get back to everybody, so you guys can have kind of like a database to come to when it comes to these repairs. So keep the questions coming, guys. Keep the questions coming. I appreciate everybody that's joined us tonight. Be safe out there. keep it up. Keep the grind going. It's not gonna change. No one's gonna congratulate us for it. No one's gonna pat us on the back. It's the same game every day. So guys, you're not alone out there. Everyone's in it. Everyone's in it. So keep it up. I appreciate everybody. I see some more stuff coming in. Let me see. My DD15 has 890K. Good service history. How many more miles can I expect to rebuild it? Well, they're rated for over 1 million. I would definitely go ahead and do an oil analysis and see if you have any contamination. Make sure you're up to par with all your maintenance, your coolant hoses, changing out your coolant, air dryers. Don't forget about air dryers. Keep up with the maintenance, and you could keep going, man. You can keep going if you still got good power and your fuel mileage is decent, and your oil analysis is still good. You can keep going. You know, there's no problem with putting money aside. You know, I'll watch out while I'll go when I got a good job, basic mechanic. Oops, my camera cut off again. I think it's I don't know if it's a 30-minute cutoff. I don't know what it is. Sorry about that. I'll watch y'all while I go when I got a good a job doing basic maintenance on semis. Was a car guy a year ago. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate that comment. Guys, have a good night. Be safe. I'm glad you guys joined us. I will see you guys again.